Yesterday, or late the day before, a 12-page letter was released to the media, supposedly written by Donald Trump, weighing in on the Trump Riot Committee hearings. Now, I don't believe for a second that Donald Trump really wrote a 12-page letter. Trump doesn't write and Trump doesn't read. All he's capable of, as far as we've seen, is tweet-style messages, often with strange grammar, spelling, and syntax. So I don't believe Trump wrote a 12-page letter. But I do believe that Trump sat somewhere and told someone what to write. And Chris Cillizza from CNN received the letter and gave us a list of the wackiest things. And here are some key moments from this statement that shows us how the right is thinking of these hearings. Number one, if they had any real evidence, they'd hold real hearings with equal representation. Remember, Republicans opted out of that. There was a framework for an actual bipartisan committee, 10 members, 5 Republicans, 5 Democrats, Democratic chair, Republican vice chair, and both the chair and vice chair have to agree on every subpoena. Republicans rejected it. So Democrats did what they could, which is they've got Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger on the panel. So that's their fault. 2, they used the illegally constituted committee to put on a smoke and mirrors show for the American people in a pitiful last-ditch effort to deceive the American public again. There's nothing illegal about the committee. Just nothing. We've had other committees, the Benghazi one. We've had others. Perfectly legal. Number 3, they've refused to allow their political opponents to participate in the process. They've excluded exculpatory witnesses and anyone who so easily points out the flaws in their story. Again, as Chris Cillizza writes, Republicans crushed the actual bipartisan committee that they wanted to do. That it is because of Republicans that they don't have more Republicans on the committee. And also, a whole bunch of the pro-Trump people that were subpoenaed didn't go. And that's now the subject of legislation. That includes Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro. 4, the unselect pseudo committee has coordinated with their media puppets to broadcast their witnesses on TV without opposition, cross-examination, or rebuttal evidence. Again, more than 1,000 depositions were taken of all sorts of witnesses. It is untrue that that is what was done. And then a whole bunch of other just repetition of lies. I won't look at all of these, but number 7 is they illegally inflated voter rolls. That's unproven. They illegally allowed harvested and stuffed ballots. No evidence of that. They abused the use of mail-in ballots. There's no evidence of that. They physically removed Republicans from counting facilities. That's untrue. Now, there are random Republicans who showed up demanding to oversee the election who were not allowed to because there's a process for establishing observers. There were Republican and Democratic observers. There were people who just showed up demanding access. It's sort of like if I go to a court and I say I want to sit alongside the judge, they would say, well, no, you haven't been selected. You're not the judge. In the same way, if I'm not actually an election observer, I don't have a right to just show up and be given power there. But there is no evidence for any of those claims. And a whole bunch of other stuff that doesn't really have any meaning, like Donald Trump writing in this letter, on election night, America watched as my lead grew and grew over Biden as I was set to claim another victory. We expected the red mirage. We expected that the early vote would favor Trump and that as the cities were counted overnight and into the next day, it would start to point more in the direction of Joe Biden. All of these things we expected. So I don't believe Trump wrote this, but I do believe he had input, and it really shows us that they aren't changing their talking points. Every day that passes, we have more of an empirical basis to reject their claims, but they continue making the exact same claims day after day after day. Now, at the end of the day, I don't know that these hearings are really going to have any impact. They're getting an okay audience. My guess is the people watching are mostly the people who already don't believe the things that Donald Trump has been saying. So whether these hearings will have any impact whatsoever remains to be seen. But the lies that they are telling continue to be the exact same lies. And at this point, I don't know who's falling for them. We'll have more on this on our Instagram, which you can find at David Pakman Show. We'll be back right after this short break. Many of us know what it's like to have acne show up when we least want it to. You should have seen me in middle school. Now I'm on camera and I really do the best I can to keep my skin clear And for that, I go to Apostrophe, our sponsor, on the Apostrophe website. You just answer a few questions, take a couple pictures of your skin, and then you have a virtual visit with a board-certified dermatologist who will create a personalized treatment plan. They quickly ship you the prescription medication. I can tell you that when it comes to acne, you're better off with a dermatologist. There are all sorts of different kinds of acne that need different types of treatment. The over-the-counter stuff was not what worked for me. Apostrophe makes it simple and quick. I've had a great experience with Apostrophe myself. You get affordable, quality medical treatment from a licensed dermatologist and prescription meds that actually work, but I can do it all on my phone. I don't have to spend hours in a doctor's office. My audience gets $15 off your first dermatology visit. Go to apostrophe.com/Pacman and use the code Pacman. The link is in the description.